Hello there, welcome to the second lesson of the Python course for beginners. And in this video, we will cover up the fundamental basics like printing something, taking input, and also we will learn about variables. First, open the Python IDLE. Now type print, P-R-I-N-T, all letters in lowercase because Python is a case-sensitive language. Then put parentheses or brackets, and inside these parentheses add quotations. It can be either single quotes or double quotes. And in between the quotes, type your name. So I will type Swapnil. So this is a line of code which will print whatever you type in this print function. Now to run it, go to the end of the line and press enter. And as you can see, you just made the computer print your name on the screen. Now we did this in the interactive mode of Python, which means the output or result gets printed after each line. But we don't really want that for further programs. So we program in the script mode, which means the program or code runs only when we tell it to run. To go to this mode, click on File, then click New File. Let me just maximize this window. Now, to make sure that this script mode opens every time we open Python IDLE, we have to change the settings. So for that, go to Options, then Configure IDLE. Now go to the General tab, select Open Edit Window, then click Apply, and then OK. Now let's try that program again. So we type print, then parentheses, quotes, and then the name. Now to run this, go to Run, and then click Run Module. You can also use the shortcut, which for me is F5. So I can directly press the Fn key along with F5 key to run it. It will ask you to save the file. Click OK. Then select the location where you want to save this file. So I will save it on the desktop. Name this whatever you want and click Save again. This should open the shell window again, in which we had programmed earlier. And now you'll see your name printed. So you have now made your first Python program. Now this shell window is also called the terminal window, and it basically shows the output or results of our program. And as you can see, this is basically like the interactive mode. So if I type print hello world, which is a common first program, then you can see that it prints hello world. Now go back to the program file. I don't want to print this line anymore, but I also don't want to delete this line so that I could use it later. In such cases, we put the hash symbol before the text, and now this becomes a comment. Now, comments are parts of code that the computer ignores and does not try to execute. Let's say I type something random like ABC. Now, when I run this, it will show me an error. As you can see, this is the error generated, and I don't really want this error. So to avoid this, what I can do is I can put the hash symbol for this ABC text, and now it becomes a comment. So if I run this, there is no error generated and my program is working fine. Comments have another really important function. Let's say I see this code after a lot of time or I want to show it to someone who does not know what I'm doing. So in that case also I could use a comment to explain the program, and it's especially helpful when we write long programs so that we don't forget what were we doing. Now if I run this, it will again work fine and there should be no error. Now before we learn to get an input from user, let us learn about variables. Variables can be thought of as boxes in which you can store any value and change it whenever you want. So if I define a variable by typing x is equal to 5, then Python will interpret this by creating a box. It will name this box x, and then it will store this number 5 in that box. So if we want to use this number 5 later, we can access it by telling the Python program to use the value stored in the box x. So let's print the number. So if we type the variable name in the print function, and then now this time we don't use quotations because quotations will print exactly what we type and not the value of the variable. So if I run this, as you can see, 5 is printed. If I had used quotes and then I run it, it would have printed x, the name of the variable or box, instead of the variable's value. Also note that the equal sign used here while defining the variable acts as an assignment operator because I'm assigning the value 5 to the variable called x. Now if I want to update the value of x, all I need to do is type x is equal to any new value for, let's say, 10. Now if I say print x again, let me just remove the quotation marks from the previous print statement. And now if I run this, as you can see, first 5 will get printed and then 10. First the value of x is equal to 5. So 5 gets printed. Then when x gets assigned the value of 10, 10 gets printed. Now let us learn how to use the input function. So we type input and then parentheses, and now within these parentheses we again type quotes. Now inside the quote we type whatever we want to be printed so that the user understands what he needs to input. So if I type enter your name and run it, so the user understands that he has to enter his name. So I type Swapnil, and now nothing really happens because I have not given any command yet. So what I can do is I can store this input in a box that's a variable. So I store it in a variable called name, and now I just say print name, and hopefully that should print whatever the user enters as his or her name. So if I again type, and as you can see the name gets printed. Now if I want to accept more than one input from the user, I can use another variable. For example, let's say I create a variable called greeting and I want the user to be greeted before that, and let me take the greeting also from the user. So I take it as an input. I ask the user to enter a greeting which can be hi, hello, hey, or whatever the user wants. Now once the user enters this, I will put it in the print statement and I'll separate it from the name variable using a comma. I could also use a plus sign, but a comma is preferred. Now if I run this, as you can see, first it will ask me to enter a greeting, then my name, and then it prints the greeting, a space, and then my name. So a comma separates two variables or two pieces of text in the print statement. It can even separate more. Now if I do not want the greeting as an input, if I want it as a text, so first let me just comment this out. Yeah, now if I want this greeting as a inbuilt text, I don't want the user to enter the greeting. So I type the greeting myself. I say hello, and this will be in quotation marks. Now I run it and it asks me to enter my name, and then it automatically says hello and then the name. So as you saw, quotation marks are used for texts that we give, whereas we don't use quotation marks when we are using variables because we want the value of the variable and not the name of the variable. So the homework for today is get input from the user as two colors. So basically there should be two inputs, one for the first color and the second input for the second color. And then once you get these inputs, the output should be color 1. I'll just put the color 1 text in these brackets because I don't want you to print color 1, I want you to print the value of color 1 which is entered by the user. So the output should be color 1 and color 2 are two colors. Let me just put this in quotation marks. So that is what the output should be. Now let us take an example. If the first input entered by the user is red and the second input entered by the user is blue, then the output should be red and blue are two colors. So that's the homework for today. Good luck and have a nice day.